Hey guys, how are you today? I am doing a lesson on gesso today. I'm actually going to use a project that I did a few years ago, but I still have the footage for it, and I wanted to do a video on gesso because I know a lot of people have questions about it, and I use it a lot of times actively in my paintings. I actually paint with it, and I do so much more with it than just using it as a background. So you probably know gesso in its most basic form is used to coat canvases. Like if you buy a pre-stitched canvas at an art store, this is already coated with gesso, and it's like a primer. If you're painting your walls, you probably know you need to prime it first and then you put the paint on top. So that's exactly what gesso is, but it also can be used to paint with directly, and so I wanted to teach you about the different kinds of gesso and what they're used for and how you can use them in the work to maximize your mixed media projects. So the first and most common type of gesso that there is just plain white gesso, okay? And I use different brands. I like Liquitex, but you can do whatever kind floats your boat. I use this to definitely coat my journal pages. It will prepare any surface to get ready for paint, but I also use it as a substitute for white. And I actually talk a bit about that in my new book that just came out. I have a chapter on gesso, and it talks about how I use it as an alternative to white paint. I like it because it dries to a transparent, I'm literally reading, it dries to a transparent milky shade, and I love to mix and blend it in with my skin colors, and that is true. When I'm doing portraits, I always use it to mix in with my skin tones, and that could be a dark skin or light skin. And the reason I use white gesso instead of white acrylics is because it's not as overpowering, and it's not, it's actually very matte, so it makes like a chalky base and dilutes my paints without overpowering them, making them too light. And also white paint that has a more of a slick base. It is, I'm trying to describe it. Sometimes it's too much and it's too overpowering for the color that I'm mixing it with. And the gesso kind of cuts the color in just kind of like the perfect way. And it also allows you to take different colors and eases the blending and eases the transition and makes mixing them more successful, I guess is the only way that I can really describe it. And the best way to do this is, as you know, is to probably test that out for yourself. I'm sure there are people that love mixing their skin tones with white acrylic, but for me that white acrylic is just too much. It's just too strong, and the white gesso is like perfect. Okay, so that's white gesso. There's also clear gesso. Now a lot of people use clear gesso to also prepare their surfaces for painting. For me personally, clear gesso has a very sandy, gritty texture that I do not enjoy. So I've had this bottle for many, many years, and I think I've only used about this much. I do not love clear gesso, but it does have its purposes. You can also use matte medium instead of clear gesso to, again, prep your surfaces. And so I tend to use matte medium as a clear gesso, but it is a primer and it will prepare your surface for painting. Another one that I use quite frequently is black gesso, and black gesso I love more than black acrylics is because that sucker is jet black opaque. I don't know what it is, what's in there, but the pigments that are in black gesso is no joke, and they are black. So if I'm hating a journal page and I want to start over, it just takes me one coat of black gesso and that sucker is covered for good. And again, it's like that super matte, chalky kind of matte, and I think that's just personal preference, but I love that. It also dries in a hot second, which I love too because I'm a quick painter and I love to cut to the chase, and it dries super fast for me. There's also a couple other kinds that you should just be aware of. They have it in gray, which is just like lazy bones. Instead of mixing your white and your black to get gray, you can buy it, but I'm super lazy, so I have no qualms buying the gray one. The opacity though is pretty weak, so it doesn't do the good job of covering up layers under it the way that the black does, so just keep that in mind. There's also super heavy gesso, which I don't care for and I don't really use, so but just so you know they exist. So this is today's project, and I'm going to be making this. You might have seen this on YouTube already, but I felt like this video was missing so much information in it the way that I had captioned it originally. I think this was posted back in 2016. So I wanted to give you this intro so you really understand how I'm using the gessos in this painting. This entire painting is only made with gesso and Stabilo, which is crazy. And it's also why I love mixed media so much, because like the innovation of taking and using different materials and playing and experimenting and seeing what you can do is just endlessly fun for me, and I hope it's endlessly fun to you. And that's the whole purpose of doing these videos, is so that you can learn, or you can, you know, get inspired to try new and different things just because it's fun. So this whole girl was made with 3 ingredients. It was made with my black Stabilo, which is this little pencil right here, and 3 kinds of gesso, either clear, white, or black. That is it, the whole thing. So I just want to give you a little demo again. So what that means is, this is my black Stabilo, and you guys know, if you know me, I love a Stabilo because it's so heavily pigmented and it's super reactive with any liquid that touches it, and it is awesome. So let me give you a quick demo and then we'll start. So first I want to show you what happens if I use clear gesso and I rub it around that Stabilo. Do you see how reactive that is? So I get all that that's just coming from the Stabilo, and it's clear, so I'm not adding any, I'm not diluting it by using white, and you'll see what happens when I do that in a minute. So it's still jet black. So when you'll see me in this drawing, I'm doing the outline in black, and when I want to keep the black and not make it any more intense than you already see, I will use the clear gesso to activate that Stabilo line and to keep the level of blackness that I have. If it becomes too dark and I need to lighten it because whatever area that I'm adding shading to is too dark from the Stabilo, that is when I go ahead and I add some white gesso to it, okay? And that it will just tone it down, it will dilute it, okay? And you can blend it in. So you have the super dark, and then you can lighten it up by adding more gesso. Okay, now in the areas where I want more shadow, that black is not open. Oh my gosh, look at my Bob Ross black gesso. Yeah, Bob. So when I am activating my black Stabilo and it's not dark enough, okay, with the clear gesso, then what do I do to get it darker? Well, then I use my black gesso. This is the worst demonstration. I should be doing this on my table, but I got a lot going on today. Okay, and then you can go ahead and add more black, and you can activate the black with the black if you need to, right? And you get real black. Look how black that is, and totally opaque. And again, then if I want to lighten it up, I'm gonna add the white gesso as needed to lighten that up. So I just wanted you to understand sort of the process by which I did this painting, and without further ado, I present to you the original Woman of Wonder. Oh, let's do it.